If you've ever wanted to collect registrations, feedback, or applications online, but didn't know how, whether as a beginner or as a Gen Alpha, Gen X, Millennial, whatever, this video will show you step by step how to create a Google form from scratch. So walk along with me. So first off, we're going to be selecting a blank form to start our teaching with. So as you can see, this is a blank form. When you open the Google form, when you click on it, it has this template above. You can decide to pick any of those templates if it relates to what you want to work with. But for the purpose of teaching today, I'll be working with the blank. So this is what a blank form looks like. We have the title section where you get to name your form as you want for easy location in your files. So let's just give this practice. Yes, so this is it. So wherever in your file, when you have it saved or in your drive, it comes at this name practice. And because my internet connection is on, my changes will sync automatically. So no matter what you are doing on this form, even if you decide to close it or you've shared the link and you come back later to make a correction, it's going to sync those changes immediately. That whoever clicks on that link again is going to see your new input or maybe your edit or correction. So that's it. We have this, which is customized theme. It allows you to select your choice of theme, the header, how you want your text style to be. If you want an image in this header section, the color of the header, the background, you can decide to play around it, pick something. You can see the background is changing as I do. Your header, you can decide to pick another color. You can see depending on what you want. Do you understand? So each color you pick here affects the background. So do you get? It just gives you something nice. So Roboto is my text, the body size for the answer. Do you get? Roboto for the question header. My header is Roboto. This is just the default setting for me, and I think it is good enough. You can tweak it, play around it if you think something bigger or something smaller. So that's it. Then the next is preview. It allows you to see your form in the real format. This is how it's going to look like if someone is trying to fill it. The reason why you're having this is because you are the owner of the form and you get to edit it the way you want, or maybe you want to make a correction. You understand? So this is the undo, this is the redo. Maybe there was a correction you made that seems like it made more sense than what you've just done. You can always undo your new correction and pick the previous one. Yeah, that is the old information. And if it's redo, maybe you feel, oh, what you removed was something that was better. You can always redo it to bring it back. And this is a copy responder link that allows you to share your link for a response. Do you understand? So this link will not work except one thing is done. We'll know when we get there. Then this is the share icon. It allows you to add people manually yourself. With this share, you get to add people, emails, calendar invites, and everything needed. And here you get to decide what happens. Editor view is restricted. Only people with access can open with the link. So even if I give you the link, if I don't approve you to be an editor, you can't say it. Then the responder view, like I said, there's a responder link that I can share with you. And like I said, responder link is dependent on a particular city, which I'm also going to get that. So you click done. Then publish. Publish is that new feature that is so beautiful now that if I don't publish this out, nobody gets to see, even if they have access to the link. So now this is responders. Anyone with the link, you can manage, decide how you want it to be. What do you want to do? Anyone with the link, and you can decide to remove the link actually. So those are the managed settings. So when you click on publish, you just make sure your link is live enough for people to use. So let's just name start. Then we have this, the sidebar notifications at the right side allows you to make a copy, move to bin, prefill form, embedded HTML print, and all of that. So now let's go to the topic of today, which is how to create a form step by step. You have questions, you have responses, and settings. But then let's start with questions. Now, you already know we are trying to create a form, and Google Form is actually a free tool that lets you collect information from people in an organized way. It doesn't, and Google will always put a very simple, not simple, but very important disclaimer that don't share private information through a Google form because they're not going to be responsible. So if you are trying to share out a form to collect information from people, ensure you are not asking them for very private information. Or if you have to ask them for a private information, make sure they are people you know and you have it properly written in your description. Do you understand? Now, like I just mentioned description, now let's move towards naming the form. We have the form title and we have form description. Your title should be clear and specific. For example, it can be, let's say, UI, UX, Google Form, registration link, or class. Okay, let's make it class. Yeah. The title must be very, very specific, clear and straight to the point because they get to see an overview or a preview of it each time you send the link. You understand? And now for the description is just letting them know what the purpose of the form is. I mentioned earlier that when you have to collect private information, ensure that you have it properly described. So at the form description, you just get to tell them what exactly this form is all about. So this form is just to know how many willing people to take the class. Let's do something very short. So whoever is seeing this, before you move diving into answering questions, you already know what the form is all about. And you can play around the different text structure or formatting or style, bold, italics, underlining, depending on what you want. I hope that is very quick. That's very understandable. Now, this is where our teaching starts because we have to start adding questions. I want you to know that there are different types of question types. When they talk about short answer, that is, we're talking about questions. Short answer is talking about answers that are very short and specific. Do you understand? You use them for probably section for names, section for emails, section for phone numbers. We're talking about paragraph. We're talking about you using this when you want a detailed answers, like the section of tell us about yourself. Remember, this is a form to collect interested participants for a UI UX class. So tell us about yourself or tell us about why you want to join this class. At that point, again, to write as lengthy as possible. If you want lengthy answers, try not to use short answer. Stick to paragraph. Now, let's talk about multiple choice. Multiple choice is just only one option can be selected. I've seen many forms that the answer is required to just be one. But because they don't understand the difference between multiple choice and check boxes, you always have check boxes. And at the end of the day, when I ask them what exactly, they'll be like, oh, yeah, just to pick one answer. So for multiple choice allows you to pick just one option. Let's talk about check boxes. This allows you to pick multiple answers. I know multiple choice, the word multiple behind it, do you understand? Might be a bit confusing. Yes, for someone that's just starting up. But one thing you should know, multiple choices, there are different options here, but we just want you to pick one. And check boxes is this saying we have many answers here and you have the liberty to pick as many as you want. Let's talk about drop down. Drop down is good when you want to save space. That is, you don't want your form to be too lengthy. You don't want options everywhere. So we drop down and decide to just click on it and it shows the answer. When they are done selecting, it just closes back. That's drop down. So now talking about file upload, it is very, very important. It allows people to submit documents, resumes, assignments, whatever is in document format. That part is very important. It's very needed. That is what you use. You don't ask people for their resumes or ask them to submit assignments and you use paragraph because having to type all of that might be a lot. Do you get? And we are moving. This is the point where at that digital age where we need to find a way to make things easier for ourselves and very quite understandable. So when you need people to give you very long answers, yes, I know I mentioned paragraph to be when you want long answers, but at the same time, if it's going to be up to 500 above words, please let them just submit it as a document. Let's now decide to set a question and let's go. So now let's pick short answer for this. So we'll do what is your name? Short answer text. You can see it very simple. Now this is duplicate question. With duplicate question, when I click on it, I get to have this same question show as another question because and it can be very good when you don't have time to start selecting add question all the time. Duplicate make it faster. You just edit your choices and the question type. Delete question, maybe the question is not needed, it's not necessary, you delete. Then talking about required. Required is just for you to mark important questions so people don't skip them. So even when they forget and they try to submit the form will remind them that there are certain questions that you've not answered or there is a particular question that you need to answer. So it is very important to determine if that question is important. Don't set all questions as required if it is not an important question. Give people the liberty to answer or avoid a question in your Google form. Let's go further. We have this. I talked about duplicate being faster for you to add question. But at the same time, Google Form has made it very available at the sidebar. Yes, I'm calling this a side panel actually. Add question allows you to add a new question, import questions. Maybe you have questions already set. When you click on these, it allows you to bring in that questions and it shows. Then we have add title and description. That is another thing. I already discussed title and description already. Add image. It's exactly what it means. Maybe you need a particular image to probably add context to a particular question, or add context to this particular form, or particular section you're using it, or question you're using it. That's it. Then we have add video as well, the same explanation as image. Let's talk about adding section. One thing you understand about add section is section helps you break long form into parts. This makes your form feel shorter and more organized. This is actually very good when you're trying to create for surveys actually. For surveys, adding section is actually one of the best methods that you can use so that whoever is filling the form don't feel like you're doing too much. And I've seen many mistakes with people when they create a form or when they share. They really don't know the difference between add section and add question. Some people get to make a mistake of, oh, how can I categorize this? Section does make you break it. So by the time I'm done answering the first three questions, the next button that is the CTA called next would determine if you want to proceed or not, depending on the direction that has been applied by the owner of the form. If it allows me submit, then that's fine. I don't need to answer the next section. But if it does not, it means it allows me. So section is something that you need to apply. It's actually a very useful tip when you are creating a form. Very, very useful. So I don't open your form and I'm everywhere looking like, what is this? What is this? Why is this very long? Very, very important. So now, this is what is your name. When I do add section, this is it. Add section, I can decide to say demographic. So whoever is coming here to answer this knows that this particular question here is going to be about myself, my name, my age, every other information that's needed. Then after I've gotten here, then you cannot add a question. When you add a question, it continues. If you are done asking or setting the question for this particular section, you can always add. Or you click on duplicate, and like I said, duplicate is just the word duplicate. It's like a copy and paste version of what's the original. So if this question will not be required, you might need to remove it and say, oh, it's not required. Then decide to do file upload and all of that. I think I've been able to cover every necessary thing you need to understand about creating a form. But then let's talk about how it goes, because I mentioned something earlier that when you use section, depending on what the owner of the form has said, I can decide to go to the next section or I can decide to submit. And how do I determine that? This is very simple. There is this 3 dots here, which is called more option. When I click on it, description, that is, maybe you want to add some extra description to the question, just to make them understand. After this, continue to the next section. I click on it. But what if I don't want you to continue to the next section? After section 1, you can submit the form. Or you say go to section 2, which section 2 is actually the only section we have here. So we are going to include one more section for you to see this. So let's include one more section. So you see section, yes. Okay, now let's go back to this. Continue to section. Then you have section 1, section 2, section 3. If you are done answering this, depending on your answer, because this is a short answer, it's why I can't let you decide, oh, pick section 2, submit form. Just go to section 3 once you are done with this section. Do you understand? And in cases like this, when there is going to be option for you to pick, let's add, yes, that's option 2. Then let's click on this. Shuffle option holder. Go to section based on answer. This is one of the choices you get to make when you are using multiple choice kind of question. With multiple choice of question, I decide which section to go to based on my answer. So this, go to section based on answer. So if you pick option 1, I want you to go to next section, which is section 3. But if you pick option 2, I want you to go to what? Section 2 or section 3. So now I'm going to say this should go to section 3 if you pick this. Do you understand? If you pick this, you go to section 3. Now let's add one more section to make it section 4. But if you pick option 2, I want you to go to next section. So if you pick section 2, I want you to go to section 3, which is obviously the next section. But if you pick option 1, I want you to go to section 4. So now let's do a preview for you to see how it works. What is your name? Then click on next. Remember I told you that Google always writes a very short disclaimer at the end of their form for your own purpose. And this is it. Never submit passwords through Google Forms. This content is neither created nor endorsed by Google. Contact form owner, terms of service, privacy policy. Does this form look suspicious? Report. So you see, people can actually report your form. So that is why I said, if you know that you're going to ask for private information or passwords, ensure their audience that already know what they are getting into and they know you so well. Do you understand? And you properly describe what you are using those information for. So now let's continue. I said if you pick option 1, remember I said when you pick option 1, it takes you to section 4. Do you understand? And because we've not distinctively changed some options in this, you might not notice the difference more. I'm going to go and make a correction for section 4 and let's add a question. As a checkbox so that you can know that something changed. Yeah, so, and remember I said something that when you make changes, it just automatically syncs. So now I picked option 1. So when I click on next, it takes me to section 4. Can you see? This is it. But when I go back, it takes me here. When I click on option 2, it takes us to the next section, which is just this. So that is the very beautiful thing about branching in form. It allows you to select how you want it done, where you want it to go to. Now let's come back to our working page. So this is how it looks like. But you can see when we were previewing filling the form, it was just showing section by section. So the user don't even know how many sections you have available. They don't know what questions is hidden from them if they choose not to answer one question. Except they have the time to start doing many more, and I don't think people want to do that. To responses, we have 0 responses because we've not published our form. Remember in the beginning of the video, I talked about you have to publish your form to start accepting responses. And because this is for practice purpose, I won't be publishing it. Link to sheet, it links to your sheet, the spreadsheet that shows you all of the answers and the questions, user time, the time at which it was answered. Do you understand? Each responses. And that's that. We have this, get email notification for new responses. For example, you've sent out the mail and you want to notify each time people reply. Select the destination for responses, something you can set. Now let's come to settings. When we're talking about settings, settings is one of those very important things you need to do before you send out or you click on the publish button. Do you understand? We have the general presentation and responses, turning it off and accepting. Now make this a quiz. You only do this when you want to assign certain values, and you only do it when it's like an assessment and all of that. If it's not an assessment, you really don't need to make it from a quiz. Then talk about responses. You're going to manage how your responses are being collected and protected. Collect email address simply means you want the email address of whichever account or response or user that filled that response. Collect email address when it is necessary and important. If you don't want to give them a follow-up or you don't want to update them, I really don't think it's necessary to collect an email address. Send responders a copy of their response. Collect email address means you want to give them a feedback, you want to update them. So that is when it is very important for you to actually select this. If you're collecting my email address, it means you want to tell me something afterwards. And I would like to even see what I've said for you to do or say or reply or respond or update me on what you're doing. Allows response editing. If it is not for a very security conscious purpose, if it is not an exam or quiz related, I think you should always allow response to be edited because I might have forgotten something and I remember and I just, I think I have more opinion to give to this. Allow it. But if it's for security purpose or private purpose or probably test or quiz or exam, job application, I think you should allow it if it's not. Require signing, that is limit to one response. Limiting your response to one person is because you don't want multiple responses from the same address. You need the users to sign into their Google account. Now, presentation. How do you want the form to look like when you send it out? How should you see it? Show progress bar so they know, okay, I'm almost done. I'm not almost done. Most time, we set this when I've talked about quiz and talked about test exams. Confirmation message, that is those messages you see after you've clicked on submit. that message that pops up, thank you for responding and all of that. You can always edit it. That's why the edit text is here. You edit it and you write what you want. Show link to submit another response. That's it. If this is set, you can't limit to one response. But the moment you set limit to one response, this will be deactivated immediately. View result summary, important details actually. Disable autosave for respondents. If it is not, you get security conscious. It is not very important. It's not a test. It's not a quiz. I see no reason why you won't let your respondents save. I can leave your form to go into something else. If it is not something that is gradable, allow it all to save. Do you understand? Allow it all to save. So form defaults, collect email addresses, do not connect. Any questions required by default, you can always remove this. Do you get? Remove this and just set your default, to set your required by yourself. Do you understand? So these are basically the things you need to understand about how to use a form, how to set the form. So before you click publish, make sure that you preview your form to see what users will express. Take a look at the preview we did earlier. We could see how it looks like already. So with how it looks like, you already know how the users is going to say. And when all of this is marked and checked on the publish, when you click on publish, you can easily have the link sent out. When you click publish, it just shows it is published. Then you can copy your respondent link, shorten it, make it long depending on how you want. And at the same time, you can just use the form, not accepting responses. So whoever clicks on it at that time would have access to it. So the form is accepting responses is what they get to see, and you can always change it at anytime you feel like. I want to understand something that you can send through of three. You can send your link through 3 options, or you can send your form out in 3 options: link, email, or just have it embedded in website, like I already showed you that. So before sharing, importantly, my personal opinion, shorten your link before sharing. And when you think you've shared out your form, come back to the response tab, like I already showed us. Come back to the response tab and check out your responses. You can always preview in the spreadsheet for you to see how it looks like. You will see the summary view, you will see the question view, you see the individual view, you get? And this is where all your collected data, this is where they'll be existing, this place. Because of our link has not been shared, and we really don't have anything to share on the form, by the way. That is why this is empty. So, and that's exactly how you create a Google form from start to finish. You can use this for events, registrations, feedback, applications, and so much more. If this has helped you, like the video, subscribe to the DesignCave channel, and let me know in the comments what kind of form you want to learn next. Thank you.